Hello everyone and welcome to round 6 of the UK&I Skip Barber Championship here on BSR TV. This week we're at Brands Hatch on the longer Grand Prix circuit, having had some funny games on the shorter circuit in the touring cars earlier in the year. It's a chance for the Skip Barbers to stretch their legs and see what they can really do. I'm Marcus Narris. Joining me tonight is Rachel Whiteford, and last but certainly not least, Matt Dalton. Evening, guys.
Evening, Marcus. Evening, everybody.
Good evening, Marcus. Good evening, everyone listening in.
So you join us here in the middle of qualifying. It's been a reasonably interesting session so far. The weather that has been set for the race tonight is different from we've seen in the official series this week. It's a heck of a lot quicker out here. We're seeing at the moment George Streetley is leading the way in qualifying with a 1:38.4, a time that would have been unheard of in the official races this week. Second at the moment is Tom Ward on a 1:38.8, and Wojciech Savidovic is bringing up third with 1:38.916. So Rachel, if we start with you, obviously a lot of differences from the official races this week, but I know you've been racing in the official series. What observations have you made in that series, and how do you think that they'll relate to what we'll see tonight?
Well, it's been an interesting week in the Skip Barbers here at Brands Hatch, Marcus. The official series, you've seen a lot of cars losing control, normally when they're trying to pass others, and whilst it's quite a quick circuit, when you get into traffic, Brands Hatch can be quite dangerous, especially passing in this car in the slower corners. The cambers of the corners tend to throw cars into each other. This official series has been a bit warmer, quite a bit warmer than this session will be, and the track's been not quite as grippy, but hasn't felt quite as slick. Just having test driven today, the track does feel a lot more grippy, but somehow it does seem to be a little twitchy. I think the cars, they're going to take a lot longer to warm the tyres up, but when they do, there's going to be much more grip, which means outside lines are more possible. It's going to be interesting to see how they run in traffic. Corners like Stirling Bend and Sheen Curve will be telling. Druids, as always, is going to be a fun one. And Graham Hill Bend has always proved to be a decider when cars get into traffic. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a very interesting race today.
Excellent, thank you. So a lot grippier, Matt. Hopefully we'll see some closer racing, which is something we can do with. We've suffered in the last couple of weeks, I know, with one or two more accidents than maybe we would expect. Do you think these guys are going to be able to keep it clean tonight, or do you think we're going to see a continuation of the carnage?
No, the carnageometer is in overload mode. It's a tight and twisty track, and one that always just seems to bring out some close racing, which can obviously increase the chance of accident.
Matt's absolutely right. This track does not lend itself to overtaking. The drivers are going to be very, very careful to get past each other. I think the carnageometer is going to be in full swing.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on the carnageometer for us, Matt. If it goes over the top and into apocalypse mode, let us know early doors so I can get out of here first.
No problemo.
So for those who aren't familiar with the differences between the Indy circuit, which if you follow the racing series here on BSR TV, you'll see us use quite often, and this longer Grand Prix circuit configuration, essentially we drive the entire Indy circuit until you get into the last third, and at 30s where you'd flick left right onto the to stay on the Indy circuit, you take a 90-degree left, and there's another long straight, Rachel, which hurtles down Hawthorne Hill, steeper than it looks in the game in real life.
Pilgrim's Drop.
And then down into Hawthorne's the corner itself, which is a high-speed corner, and I think we're going to see guys try and go 2 or 3 wide through there. Do you think there's something that's going to be successful, or do you think patience is going to win the day today?
I think Hawthorne's possible to get 2 cars side by side. 3, not so sure. The really fast corners there, the ones that will be brave overtaking moves, I think are going to be Westfield and especially Sheen Curve, which is a very fast corner. If someone can get down the inside on that, that'll be brave. Doable though.
Brave or stupid, Matt?
It's a very fine line between the two, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think often the only separator between that is whether it works or not.
Yeah, absolutely. If you pull it off, it's a fantastic pass. If you take somebody out, then you're the idiot of the day.
You're a muppet, yeah.
Okay, so that's the circuit we're racing around today. Let's take a little bit of a look at the championship standings as they are. As we go into the 6th round, Mark Mercer is the only driver so far to win 2 rounds. Mark won the first round at Summit Point and also won at Road America. And he leads the way with 119 points at the moment. Second in the championship is Blake Townend, and Blake again isn't here tonight. You do get 2 drop weeks in this championship, and Blake's using his 2nd drop week already, fairly early on. But he's
brave. It's a risky thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is this early. I mean, the risk is, if he has a disconnect issue or a problem later in the season, he's left himself no wiggle room at all.
No, this is it. And if he gets involved in somebody else's accident, which is very easily done.
Yeah, he's definitely lost that safety net. So Blake sits in 2nd place on 97 points, behind Mark Mercer, 22 points back. And in 3rd place is Wojciech Svidovic, just 6 points further behind Blake in 3rd place. 4th is George Streetley, who won last time out at Laguna Seca. And 5th is a relative newcomer to BSR TV and the UK and iRacing series, Marcus Hamilton for Friction Racing, who is some 21 points behind Wojciech in 3rd place and 5 points further behind George Streetley in 4th. So as we move to the end of the qualifying session, Rachel, how are things looking out there? How are the times?
Times are starting to pick up a bit, although cars don't seem to be getting much below the 138 low end. Cars in practice are getting down into the high 37s, namely Mr. Streetley, so he'll be one to watch, I think, in the race. Cars are finding it difficult to get the grip, and with multiple cars on track, it's finding space to get your run in without running into that traffic. So I think a lot of actual race pace potential will be masked by this multi-car quali.
And as we saw last week, Matt, somebody who'll be trying to put things right a little bit this year is this week is Wojciech Svidovic. We saw another outbreak of what I call Wojmageddon last week at Laguna Seca. I know you're going to blame it on the circuit, but a heavy dive bomb in the last corner, taking out Mark Mercer and Paul Grillo last week. Do you think he's going to have to wind his neck in a little bit this week, or do you think we'll see more aggression from him?
I think he needs to be aggressive, but I'm not going to blame the circuit for the fact that he just made a complete horlicks of it last week, so I think he'll need to rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, it was optimistic at best, wasn't it, to be honest?
Mistimed, should we say. But it certainly wasn't a Burton style, so I think he... But then we've got the other Wodge here tonight as well. We've got Wodge Rabstin back as well, and he's always one for the spectacular, so...
Yeah,
should we say it's nothing ventured, nothing gained? That's the most polite way of putting it in this game.
Okay, so Rachel thinks there's going to be dive bombs left, right and centre tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing is, when you've got a track that's difficult to overtake on, it, especially when you get towards later in a race and there's one line, it becomes very, very difficult to make an overtake without having to get your elbows out a little bit. Now, Wad certainly timed it badly, and Mark Mercer was the biggest loser out of that, but I don't think for 1 minute that was an intentional move. I just think it was, a desperation-driven mistake. So
these things happen. I think, especially with this track, people's main job will be, if some people say dive bombing, I say late braking, and that's just a matter of whether it's successful or not. But I think making people go wide, and if they actually recognise that and leave the gap, will be the decider here. It's people that necessarily will stick to the racing line and not give that room when it's due, when people know they've been taken. So a little bit of elbow wiggling, I think, is required at this track.
Yeah, we've already seen in the qualifying session there have been bumping and barging just for people trying to get good track position to get a good run. And unusually for this championship, there's quite a spread in the times as we go into the last couple of minutes of qualifying. What we're seeing is there's a second covering the top 8 cars, and normally that second would cover the top kind of 15 or 20 cars. So I think there's going to be some racing room out there, but certainly up front it's very, very close, and it's going to continue to be, I think, as we see the evening progress.
Interesting, actually, at the moment, Sebastian Job, one of the good stories from last week at Laguna Seca, is on pole at the moment with a 38.072. He did quite a good job working his way through the pack in the end of that last race, didn't he, Marcus?
Yeah, he's a good driver. He's been killing it in official as well. He's a fast guy all round. He seems to be pretty good in whatever car you put him in. To be honest with you, he's one of those drivers who has a bit of a natural feel. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. If he can hang on. If he can hang on to that position, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Very inexperienced driver, as
He would be at 13.
yeah, I've just had whispered in my ear. So he's certainly, if you excuse the plum, playing with the big boys tonight. And if he can hang on to pole with the likes of Wojciech Savidovic or Big Wodge and George Streetley chasing you tonight, then we'll certainly see what he's made of. But it's an impressive effort from somebody at 13.
Absolutely.
Very
I mean,
impressive.
Savidovic has just thrown the gauntlet down and put in a 1:37.972, a whole tenth faster, and Job's kind of taking him back again.
Yep, straight away with a 37.8, which is a very good lap time. And I think George Streetley is, I'm pretty sure he's not 13, is he? He's probably a multiple of at some point or other, but it's good to see George. It's good to see George pushing back towards the front for the second week in a row. He had found a real vein of form at Laguna Seca and ended up with what was probably one of the easiest wins he'll ever take in the UKNI Skip Barber series. So it's good to see him carrying on.
Yep, 30 points is 30 points though, and I know he'll gratefully take that and make no excuses for the manner in which he won that race. It was a good, competent performance.
No, it was a complete drive. I think he was very, very quick through qualifying. He was very, very quick in practice and maintained that in the race. He was very patient behind Mark Mercer until he got the opportunity to make the move, and then once he did, capitalised on it fully and drove away. I don't say that as in any way intended as a slight against him. I think he did an absolutely excellent job.
Yeah. Just going to say, George Streetley definitely had slightly faster time than the current pole during this practice session we've just had. So, starting from third place, I think it's going to be interesting, guys, don't you?
Yeah, so we just move into the end of the qualifying session. The checkered flag is out. The session is over. There's a few guys out there finishing laps. Big Wodge or Wojciech Savidovic was unable to improve on his second place. He unfortunately got stuck behind the slightly slower Keith Sharp and couldn't capitalise on that last lap. Stuart Adcock has also just crossed the finish line. He was running in fourth place and he hasn't been able to improve. The big story so far is Mark Mercer, the championship leader, is going to start at least fifth. He's only qualified in fifth place so far and has parked it. Isn't trying to take advantage of this last lap.
I think he binned it in 30s, actually, is why he parked it.
Excellent. Okay, so eyes and ears everywhere, Rachel. It's what we need. Someone paying attention.
He's missing his teammate this evening, isn't he?
Every now and again we have to stand on our own feet.
Paul Grillo's not you?
I did so. It's interesting. I'll come on to that in the rest. I spoke to Paul earlier on. Paul said he wasn't going to take part in tonight's race. He felt very aggrieved at the treatment he got last week at Laguna Seca from a couple of the drivers. And I spoke to him in one of the official races just before the race, and he said he wasn't going to join us this evening, which I think is a huge shame.
Yeah, he turned up at some point because he's registered in a session, but didn't turn a lap in practice, and hasn't turned a lap in qualifying. It's a bit of a shame. Paul, stop flouncing and get your butt back in you.
Yep, agreed. He's a fast driver and he's a good guy, and the championship's a much better place when he's in it.
Yep. If you're aggrieved at somebody's driving, get on the PM, discuss it with them, and thrash it out. It's the only way to sort it out.
Absolutely. I do think he was an unwitting victim in last week's shenanigans towards the front of the pack. Rather than having specific blame, I don't think he had any fault in that, and it's sad to see him missing the race because of it.
Yeah, yep. It is a real pity. But hopefully he'll get over it this week and we'll see him back next week.
Yep, and as I said, it was a mistime move by Wodge, but he lost the championship last year, and I think he probably was on the receiving end of a couple of punts from Little Wodge. So, I think these things tend to come and go in circles, and you just have to be patient and stick with it.
Okay, so the cars are taken to the grid now. I'll just take this opportunity to quickly run down the finishing position, certainly for the top 10 in qualifying. First was Sebastian Job, who managed to hold on with a 1:37.8. Joining him on the front row is Wojciech Savidovic. Third, George Streetley. Fourth, Stuart Adcock. Mark Mercer finds himself only in fifth, couldn't do any better than that with a 1:38.553. Marcus Hamilton starts 6th, Tom Ward is 7th, and just behind him he's got Jonathan Maycock, Brendan O'Brien and George Lambert rounding out the top 10. So as the guys get ready, the final few cars make it onto the grid. Hopefully everyone's making sure they've got the right fuel level. A careful start, guys, or do you think it's going to be hell for leather into turn 1?
It's Brands Hatch. Carnageometer's going to be off the scale.
I don't know, see, because every time I predict a carnage at turn 1 with this lot, it doesn't happen. So I'm going to say they'll wait until Graham Hill.
Yep,
I think you'll get 3 corners and then it'll go.
I agree with that. That's where my money was. Downhill braking zone, somebody's bound to get rear-ended. But
what about Druids? That's always a fun one.
Everyone tends to be fairly careful, to be honest with you, but it'll be interesting to see whatever happens. It's going to be great to watch, and we're glad you could join us here on BSR TV to watch it with us. So the grid's almost formed. The guys are getting ready. I think everybody's out there. We should fairly shortly see the lights change. There's some delay for some reason. Right, here we go. Everyone appears to be on the grid.
Green flag, green flag.
And it's green, and away they go.
Good start at the front by Jobs. He's got a good getaway.
Yep, doesn't seem to be too much moving around in the pack. Svidovic has a little bit of a look around the outside, but they tuck in going into Druids, and Streatley finds himself in a position to have a little bit of a look as they go up the hill into Druids for the first time. But no real changes of position in the top 6 as far as I can see. Everyone files through in relative safety, and they start the run down into Graham Hill Bend, where it could all go horribly wrong.
And hasn't. Here we go. Told you the carnageometer was still a work in progress.
Yeah, you need to change the batteries in that, I think, Matt.
Well, you know, we've only rolled it out for 2 races. We'll give it time. But anyway, good running at the front. Good to see everybody get through cleanly. It's actually, you know, we sound disappointed, but we're not. It's a good thing.
So as they head out onto the back of the circuit, onto the Grand Prix circuit the first time, up Hawthorne Hill and into Hawthorne's, Sebastian Job has a good 5 or 6 car lengths lead. Much closer is the battle for 2nd and 3rd place, with Wojciech Svidovic being very closely tracked by George Streatley. Just behind George Streatley is Stuart Adcock, with Mark Mercer holding station in what looks like a fairly comfortable 5th place at the moment, with Marcus Hamilton just behind him. So it's pretty much, in fact, it's exactly as you were on the grid, guys. There doesn't really seem to be any change of position in the top 6. The only change I can see is Tom Ward and Jonathan Maycock have swapped positions for 7th and 8th. But apart from that, it seems to be line astern as you were as we complete the first lap and cross the start-finish line for the first time in the beginning of lap 2.
Yep. And, you know, he's wasted no time whatsoever as Sebastian Job, isn't he? He's setting off like his backside's on fire at the front.
Yeah, much the fastest guy on the top 10 runners on that first lap. He really is, I guess, taking advantage of this quiet time, if we want to call it that, while he's got very little hassle, and while Svidovic and Streatley are giving each other problems and chasing each other down.
That is as much of a gap as I've seen anybody pull in one lap in this
into Paddock Hill Bend, Graham Hill Bend, sorry. Believe it was David Wormaid. Yes, it was. Number 408 car, David Wormaid, managed to get in contact with Chris Simpson and he spun out, so he's back in the pack now.
Okay, thanks for that, Rachel. I mean, Rachel's going to be our eyes and ears for incidents like that as we focus on what's going on, mostly at the front of the field. You know, anything that crops up, let us know. As it looks like Mark Mercer in 5th place is very, very close to Stuart Adcock. Stuart Adcock started 4th, still running 4th, but he's got Mark Mercer now parked under his rear wing as they drop down back onto the Indy circuit and make the run down through Clark Curve onto the start-finish straight. Do you think he's going to try something down into paddock here, Matt?
I'm not sure he's close enough, but George Streatley is all over the back of Voj Savidovic. He's on him like a Harry Krishna on an airport traveller at the minute. He's absolutely intent on getting past.
Yeah, he's desperate to make that outside line work, but it's difficult to get the switch back here.
No, he's got him inside at Druids.
Yep, he has indeed. Oh well, that'll teach me.
That's a great move. He did that switchback perfectly, so you're putting the kiss of death on him there, I think.
Yeah, I do that. It won't be the last time that'll happen tonight, believe me.
Things are starting to get a little jostled at the back. Just had a fun one between Chris Simpson and Ross McWilliam, bumping wheels through Sterling Bend, which is a particularly brave side-by-side spot, so that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it does seem to be very, very much closer as you go through the midfield and towards the back of the race. Up front is surprisingly settled, so as we work through this third lap of this 15-lap race, as Matt said earlier on, Sebastian Job has got pretty much the biggest lead we've seen in the Skippy series at this stage. He leads by half a second.
I think he's that looks like it's coming down to me, though. I think Streetley's on a mission.
Yeah, it was half a second as they crossed the line, but you're right, Matt. I'm surprised. Streetley's really pulling away from Savidovic there. He's bridging that gap in a big way.
Yeah, he's got the bit between his teeth, isn't he? I think the red mist is down for definite in that, and he's taken handfuls of time out of it.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on the lap times as they cross the line. In the second lap, George Streetley took 0.4 of a second out of Sebastian Job, and as they complete the third lap and cross the start-finish line again,
it's 0.3, isn't it?
Yeah, another 0.3, so 1:38.5 from Streetley as opposed to a 1:38.867 from Job. So he's definitely very close and visibly close now. He's parked literally right underneath his rear wing as they go through Druids for the fourth time, and I don't think it's going to be very long before Streetley, who's has really hit a purple patch of form, is in a position to challenge Job.
He's certainly not messing about, is he? He's on a... Having a look
And
there, has he got one? Yeah, he's got it down the inside of him there in 30s.
Yeah, that's a brave move to try. Job holds onto what will be the inside line as they run down Pilgrim's Drop and down Hawthorne Hill into Hawthorne's, the very fast right-hander that's at the end of this long straight. Job's going to hang on to that inside line. This is a tough place to pass around the outside, so Streetley does the sensible thing and just tucks in behind, looks at the undercut as they go into Westfield. I don't think that's going to happen. Westfield is a very, very fast corner, and they'll drop down now through Dingle Dell. 1, 2, 3, literally as quickly as you could say it, through Sheen Curve, which again is a very, very quick right-hander. No opportunities there to overtake. The first opportunity to overtake is here. The left-hander down into Sterling's, but it doesn't look like anybody's close enough or brave enough to try anything this early in the race.
No, I think Streetley might be trying to set him up for the same move we saw on Savidovic earlier here as well.
Well, it was a blinder. It did work really, really well. Just as I said, it was very difficult to do. He, makes a monkey out of me, and
he's got a good run at him again here, isn't he?
Yeah, he has. I think he's going to have to stay. No,
I think he's going to take it.
Just as I say it, he goes in. He's going to be very late on the brakes.
That's a classic Brands Hatch Packs. I think Job's got the cut back on him, though.
Yeah, it's
he will have him. Yeah, he's going to take it back.
Yeah. It's very, very difficult there. I mean, you make that pass there, you're going to wash out slightly wide, and if you can hold that tighter line up into Druids, it's a series of corners. The first 3 corners here, through Paddock, through Druids, and down into Graham Hill where they are now, it really does promote fantastic side-by-side racing, and the opportunities there to swatch positions. He's having another look at him again as they go through Surtees and onto the back straight and the run down Hawthorne Hill. Again, he's tucked right up behind him, but I don't think he's going to be able to make that inside line work into Hawthorne's.
No, but he looks like he's visibly got some serious corner speed, hasn't he, George Streetley? And around the outside of Hawthorne's, that's brave.
Has he got the pace and has he got the bravery to try and complete the move around the outside, going down into Westfield? No,
I think he thought better of that one, and wisely so as well. I'm not sure that's an overtaking spot, I'll be honest.
No, but he's going to try, maybe have a look up the inside into Sheen. No, again, discretion being the part of valour, but what he is forcing Job to do is run a wider line than he wants to through that corner, and you need to be very, very careful there. You get one of your left-hand wheels on the outside of Sheen Curve there, and that car will go around on you quicker than you can think. There's certainly no chance of catching it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very slippery circuit here at Brands Hatch, and yeah, one wheel off, that car's gone.
So here we go.
I was just saying, the big beneficiaries of this really is Savidovic and Mark Mercer in the background, because all the time these three are battling and fighting and blocking each other out, that's allowing Mark Mercer to try and claw back some of the time that he lost earlier on.
Yeah, you say that though, but Mercer's not running very quick laps. He doesn't seem to be catching him. Lap 5 from Mark Mercer was a 1:39.1. And if you compare that to some of the faster laps the other guys have been doing, they're certainly capable of a much faster pace. But with this racing, they're really slowing each other down. So.
Yep. See, they were looked at run last time round was a 39.9 and Mercer ran a 39.1, so he's taken,
Yeah, so he's closing on him.
8/10 out of him in one lap. So if they keep this up for a few laps, that does allow him to catch up. Of course, whether they will entirely depends on, racecraft and other things we've seen in this series before, that guys can get lured into some battles that they would perhaps normally just follow line astern and make a gap. So.
Well, just behind Mark Mercer is Stuart Adcock, and Stuart's running a fairly fast time. Obviously, he's got the benefit of the draft with Mercer, and he's running quicker, but he seems happy to hold station behind him. There's no overlaps, there's no attempted passes. I think Adcock and Mercer recognise that this is a great opportunity for them to bridge that gap, a gap that currently sits at just about 2.1 seconds between third and fourth as they began this sixth lap. It'll be interesting to see what's happened to that gap as they start lap 7. As up front, again, it's pretty much line astern. Things seem to have settled down slightly. George Streetley may be gathering himself for another attempt.
Oh, that's a brave attempt, because he was quite a long way back there. That's is he going to be able to hold that inside line? Yes, he does. I think he's made this one stick, hasn't he?
Wow, that must have been quite literally seat of the pants stuff, because that was right on the limit of how late you can brake and still make it around that corner in one piece.
Just had an interesting one back here in the midfield, guys. We just had Raymond Norris and Keith Sharp battling it out. Sharp with a very brave move down the inside onto Westfields, with Norris taking him back through Sheen Curve. Some really fast wheel-to-wheel action going on in the mid-pack.
Excellent, thanks for that, Rachel. I noticed as well Keith Sharp running in 15th place now, just behind Bobby Bramley, it looks like. I don't know, we seem to have lost. Oh yeah, Norris is clearing off in the distance. He's pulled a good half a second away over on Bramley now, so it looks like Norris has found the pace and he's off into the distance.
Yep, I'm just having a look myself at George Lambert, who's of course George Streetley's teammate here, running in 10th place, and following Brendan O'Brien, who's the getting the award for top of the Irish drivers at the moment.
Yep, so there's interesting battles going on all throughout the field, most notably back at the front again, where Sebastian Jobe now finds himself in second place to George Streetley after that fantastic outbraking manoeuvre down into Paddock Hill Bend. And Jobe is literally parked right under the rear wing of Streetley as they come onto the start-finish straight. Maybe he fancies a little bit of payback, but Streetley is glued to that inside line. Jobe moves to the outside. Is he going to be able to make the outside line work? No, and Streetley very sensibly parks it right on the apex, preventing any chance at all of Jobe getting that cut back and getting underneath him going into Druids. Fantastic defensive driving there from George Streetley, parking his car right on the apex, making sure there was no chance of the cutback at all.
No, but again, these guys start battling and start having to defend from each other, and that does just allow Mark Mercer and Stuart Adcock a bit of a sniff, doesn't it? I don't think they've got the pace to live with him on a straight lap, but in fact Jobe's got the inside again there through 30s and is side by side now.
Yeah, he's never going to make that work, that outside line going down the straight and around Hawthorns, and just to prove the point there, he's left the door open, and Wojciech Savidovic has just parked his car. Oh!
And he's got the inside as well.
Yep, he's going to try and cut up the inside of him into Westfield. This is a very fast bend. This is a very brave move if you can make it happen. He forces George a tiny bit wide. Great driving.
Fantastic move.
That's great driving from both drivers. And Streetley has a little look up the inside and wonders whether he can throw his car up the inside into Sheen Curve. He just decides better of it.
He's determined to make a monkey out of you on the commentary, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
So he's going wrong.
Whatever I say, we know the opposite will happen, so...
No, you're right. I mean, that was a fantastic move, and I was similarly thinking myself that going into Hawthorns that he'd probably got the wrong line, but he made that switchback work absolutely perfectly.
Now, he's taken the normal racing line across the start-finish straight, which of course leaves that inside line open for Streetley, who decides he's not going to have a go this time around. Again, we just kind of clear half distance. We're on lap 9 of 15, so these guys would be starting to think about finishing positions rather than just thinking about racing each other. Do you think maybe we'll see a quiet couple of laps from Streetley and then he'll launch an attack in maybe the last couple of laps, or do you think he's not thinking that? It would just be hell for leather, get past as soon as I can?
Oh, we've had a car off in the midfield. Daniel Wood in 22nd place at the moment. I think he's spun out on Clark Curve. He's making for the pits.
I think it's possible he collected Alan Patterson as well for the some of the chatter going on in the race there. Not sure Alan's overly impressed with the move, so maybe worth having a look at that one if we can.
Yeah, that's always going to be popular if you take out the series organiser. That's a great way to get yourself on the blacklist.
I don't know. I don't think you'd be fussy about who you punt off these days, do you? Take the Burton approach and just hit everything that moves.
So things at the front getting more and more interesting, added to by the fact that for the first time in the race, as we move into the end of lap 9, the leaders have caught lap traffic in the form of Jamie Bird. Now Jamie's doing the right thing and staying well out of the way of this train of cars. Doesn't really interfere, so good driving there from Jamie. Everyone gets through, no one really loses any significant time. But again, as we go on to the start-finish straight, Streetley looks very racy to me. He looks like he really wants to throw a move.
Yeah, he's going to do the same one again.
Look at that, I got one right for once. If I said the opposite of what I was thinking, I couldn't be wrong all night.
He's phenomenal under the brakes, isn't he, into the first turn there?
Yeah, and having driven around here, I'm sure you'll agree, Rachel, having driven a few official races, that is about as late as you can leave the braking and stay on the circuit.
Absolutely. Some of these corners, you've got to be braking at the same time, but that's a real skill in these drivers when you see them pushing it that close to the edge.
Yep, as much as
I can't do it.
No, I can't. I was going to say, as much as I hate giving other people credit, I'm going to have to doff my cap to these guys. Or at least I would if this was still the 18th century.
Just a quick one, guys, but George Lambert, who's Mr. Streetley's teammate's worked his way up into the 10th place at the moment.
Yep, he's running a fairly strong 10th place. He's just behind Brendan O'Brien and just in front of Clark Williams. Those guys not separated by very much at all. So as we move into...
Job's making a move again.
The run down through Dingledale, yep, he's poked his nose out again, and again this is going to be ultra brave through Sheen.
Yeah, he's out on the grass.
He's taken it. Oh, he's gone wide, and I think he's got it back. Yep, George Streetley has it back, I think.
Yeah, that's always a risk going through there, as I said earlier, and you get a wheel on the grass and you have to get your foot off the throttle, and what this has done is visibly closing the gap to 4th place.
Even 3rd. Wodge has now worked his way up right under the rear wing of Streetley, so this could be the last interesting final laps.
Yeah, the gap back to Mark Mercer in 4th place is coming down lap after lap as these guys battle and force each other into mistakes. It came down again by another 0.4 of a second on that lap, so Mark Mercer now finds himself about 1.8 seconds off the back of Wojciech Svidovic, and he's really bringing himself into play in these last few laps as we see a car performing a 3-point turn up in the gravel trap of Druids.
That's Mr. Saltalamacchia, I think it was.
Okay, not sure that's the best idea when the leaders are coming around, but it looks like everyone got away with it.
Mirror signal manoeuvre. Of course, the person who'll be sat here laughing like an absolute schoolboy is Wojciech Svidovic, isn't he? Because, again, we've seen he's probably not quite on the pace of the front two, but while they're scrapping it out, he's allowing him to stick with him and stay close to the lead.
I would imagine.
We know he's going to throw one at him on the last lap or so, isn't he?
Yeah, I would imagine if anyone's laughing like a schoolboy, it's probably Sebastian Job, but with him being a schoolboy.
See what you did there.
Quite, yeah.
See what you did there.
So as we go down into Dingledale again, this has been the scene of quite a bit of action in tonight's race. Sebastian Job again holds station, has to get on the brakes there to avoid getting into the back of Streetley, who is a little bit slower through there than Job might have liked. Svidovic again is holding station in 3rd. It's starting to get a little bit creepy with him just sitting back there watching these two guys in front waiting for a mistake.
I'm not sure you'd want to get involved in it, though, would you?
No.
Well, I think watching for mistakes is a strong word in this case, but watching, yes. It involves cars too, I think.
Knowing what
sometimes it's more fun to watch.
I'm not going to touch that one, sorry, Matt.
No, that's why Matt has to watch, that's what she said. So I'm sure in his head, Big Wodge, Wojciech Svidovic is...
He's going to take him on Druids again. Oh, Job's up the inside at Druids. Can he stick it? I think he has, yep. Nice move.
And all this means again that the gap to 4th place comes down again. Only a couple of tenths on that that last lap, but as the racing becomes...
Oh, he's sideways. No, Joe has gone a bit sideways, and Streetley's up his outside in 30s.
Oh, yeah. Streetley's
lost it, and he's always did. Was there contact there? Did Savidovic
no
hit
contact.
him, or did he manage to avoid it?
There was definitely. Savidovic has had some definite contact because he's lost the front end of his car there.
Yep, he's definitely very, very slow as well. So that allows Mark Mercer and Stuart Adcock to take Savidovic fairly easily. I don't know if he was just trying to get back up to speed or if he's got a problem in that skip Barber. I know if you clout the front of these cars, you can very quickly damage the steering. But no, he's looking very racy, and he's straight back up the inside of Adcock as they go down through Dingledale and the quick right-hander into Sheen Curve. And they start the run down into Sterling's, the left-hander. And I don't think Savidovic has been particularly pleased at the time he got cost then, and he wastes no time in making up at least one of those places back and finds himself sitting back in what would be now third place.
Yeah, I'm not sure he has got any damage either there. I think
just
at one point
guys.
it looked like he'd lost the front end, but...
Just to update you guys, but just doing a quick scan around on his car, he's got some damage to his left front end plate and the wingtips, so shouldn't be causing too much trouble for him, but might be noticeable.
Excellent, thanks for that, Rachel. He's certainly not driving like he's carrying any particular damage. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because he definitely looks quicker than Mercer, but I think we're going to see something resembling a masterclass from Mercer in the blue Club 100 sponsored car in defensive driving, because there is no way he's going to want to let Wojciech Savidovic back by him, certainly with a couple of laps to go now.
Yeah, and you'd have to think that Vodge knows that perhaps he owes Marker a bit more respect this week than he gave him last week at Laguna Seca as well.
So looking down through the field, just for those fans of the GR Racing team, George Streetley managed to recover, it looks to me like in 12th place, but he's now a good 21 seconds off Sebastian Job in the lead, and he'll be kicking himself. Certainly with all of his years of experience, he'll be very upset himself at making a mistake like that.
Yeah, although it has promoted his teammate George Lambert up into 7th, so good finish for him.
Yep, so as we move into the towards the end of this 13th lap and on to what will be the 14th and penultimate lap of the race, Sebastian Job has seen things get very straightforward all of a sudden. He now leads by
2.2 seconds.
Just over 2 seconds, yeah. Savidovic a further 0.7 of a second according to the lap timing last time, but that's going to be a lot closer as they cross the start-finish line to begin lap 14. Savidovic now, just 0.2 of a second behind Mark Mercer, and I think that's where the focus of the action is going to be as they run up towards Druids. Mercer just in front of Savidovic, both daring each other to brake as late as they possibly can do. Mercer definitely gets the job there, and of course this is bringing Stuart Adcock into play. And I think if Stuart gets the opportunity, he'll be keen to make up some places here.
Just a bit further down in the field, Rob Burton has just got together with Alan Patterson, and then another corner later has got together with somebody else as well. So Rob continuing his vein of form.
So situation normal in Burton land then, where cars start but don't finish.
I am trying as hard as I can not to crease up laughing.
No, it's...
To be Burton. Are we adding something to the Oxford English Dictionary now?
The Burtonator.
Someone who'll be trying hard not to Burton anybody is Savidovic. He's done that a couple of times in the last few races, but he's looking very, very racy behind Mark Mercer for second place. He's now literally parked right under the rear ring of Mark Mercer's number 33 machine. Stuart Adcock, again, I think Stuart's in a great position here. He's just sitting watching these guys do battle, and the slightest mistake or incident between these two guys is going to give him a great opportunity to take a podium finish here. So as we start the final lap 15 of this UK&I BSR TV Skip Barber race from Brands Hatch, it's Savidovic and Mercer side by side as they cross the start-finish line. Savidovic trying to make the outside line work, and almost inevitably he hits Mark Mercer, and that's the third race in a row where Savidovic has been ever so slightly too optimistic and has caused contact towards the front of the field.
I'm not so sure that that's actually Wodge's fault, I'll be honest.
I'm looking at it again now. There was
Wodge is on the
Mercer-
very edge of the track, and Mercer's lost that all on his own in the braking, I think, unless there's a net code.
Just rewatching it again to have a look at what happens. They're coming through the start-finish line, and Wodge is on the outside, very, very close, wheel-to-wheel stuff there. I think they bounced off the side pod. He's on the outside through turn 1, and yeah, no, it's Mercer. Mercer loses it a bit under his braking zone. He runs wide and actually collects Wodge, so innocent there on Sir Widrich's place.
Okay, so apologies from me to Rog. Just for a change, I'm wrong again this evening. But my dad told me when you develop talent, you might as well use it as often as you can do.
Because you were right about one thing, though. That does give Stuart Adcock a nice podium position.
It does. I'll take that as small comfort. So as we move towards the last few
Grasp
corners
at
of
those straws.
the race, yeah, exactly.
You're so brave.
I'll take it as a win. And speaking of wins, as we come under the Advan Bridge again, just moving into the last turn on the last lap, Sebastian Job saw this race get very, very straightforward as he comes around now past the pit lane entrance. A little bit of a victory weave there. He's very delighted. He's obviously a very happy young man and takes the checkered flag to win round 6 of the BSI UK and I Skip Barber series. Stuart Adcock, as correctly predicted by me with my semi-clairvoyance, finishes the race in second place, 3.8 seconds behind, and then a big gap to Marcus Hamilton, a huge winner in all of that kerfuffle, who takes third place. Mercer recovers to fourth, Wojciech Svidovic in fifth, George Lambert in sixth. It looks like Tom Ward is taken seventh, with a little watch Wojciech Rabstein in eighth place, followed by Jonathan Maycock, and Clark Williams rounds out the top 10. So, guys,
Very close there just at the end, Marcus. George Lambert beat Tom Ward to the line by about a wing's length, so nice finish there.
Just looking at it on the official timing makes it 7 hundredths of a second. So, literally, as you say, they were almost side by side as they crossed the start-finish line. So, Matt, bit of carnage, some good racing, everything you expected, or?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I think Sebastian Job takes driver of the day, and I think the reason for that, I think he probably didn't quite have the pace as George Streetley, but was some of the moves he pulled and way he set him up was first class, and really belied his age, to be honest with you. So well done to Sebastian Job. Unlucky to George Streetley, who deserved a little bit better than that small mistake, but great racing, brilliant as usual.
Yep. Absolutely brilliant, yeah. And Streetley must be kicking himself because it was such a simple mistake, and unfortunately all his own fault. So it'll be something to take from this one. And again, with Mark Mercer and Svidovic, very unfortunate that those two collected each other, but Mr. Mercer may have to do some reflecting in the mirror, I think.
Yeah, we've just seen Wojciech Svidovic ask Mark Mercer in chat if he had a bit of a wobble before they made contact, and Mark seems to think that there was contact before the incident going into Paddock Hill Bend, and he went into paddock with broken suspension.
There was a bit of a contact, yes. Svidovic and Mercer did contact, but it was actually Mercer's fault.
No,
I think it was who pushed him.
I think what he's referring to is they looked like there was a bit of a netcode bump, which is obviously, for people who are watching who don't understand iRacing, it is run over the internet. Everybody's connected into one thing, and sometimes the car's position can be slightly erroneous, and you can pick up a contact from another car despite having a gap of nearly a foot, and I think that's what it was. I think there was a netcode bump before they've actually contacted the second time, so that may have caused him some damage.
Yeah, you could be right, because when I looked at it again in the replay just now, it looks as though they come almost as though they are going to touch each other, and Mercer jinks away rather rapidly, so netcode sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like just one of those things. As it stands, it's cost them both the chance of a very good result. I mean, it wasn't terminal for either of them, finishing fourth and fifth, but a long way down. And as we speak, the discussion rages in driver chat. I wouldn't go as far as to say either driver is blaming the other, but certainly neither of them is willing to accept responsibility for what happened there.
Racing incident, guys, don't you think?
Yep. Once they look at it on the replay, they realise it was probably a netcode, and then I suspect at that point it'll all be good. But Mark definitely was squeezing him when that happened, so Watch definitely innocent on that when he was driving up the outside of the track.
A little bit more room next time, perhaps, just in case we get net codes. And people need to remember that, I think. Easy to forget, though, when you're on the track and the red mist is down.
Yep.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, though, the series continues to produce fantastic racing. Very close at the front, for the most part respectful, and it's only going to become more competitive as we move towards the second half of the championship. So, just to sum up here, we've had our 5th winner in 6 races, Sebastian Job taking a win, and he joins Mark Mercer, Blake Townend, Wojciech Savidovic and George Streetley as guys who have sat atop the podium in this championship. I'm Marcus Narris. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining me, and I'd like to say thank you and goodbye to Matt Dalton.
Thank you and goodbye.
And thank you and goodbye to Rachel Whiteford.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
And if you've got absolutely nothing to do on Wednesday night, please join us back here on BSR TV for the Porsche Carrera Cup. Be an interesting race. There have been a few changes in the championship setup since we last hosted a race, so I'll certainly be along to commentate for that, and hope you can join us. But from me, from Matt, and from Rachel, and Steve, our cameraman here at Brands Hatch, thanks for watching. Good night.